Ever wonder why you care so much about what other people think? I mean, from the job you chase to the stuff you buy, it feels like everyone else's opinion is looming over your own. Is that just, insecurity? Or is there something bigger, something scientific at play? Well, we're going to dive right into that.
Okay, picture this. There's this guy, Ion. He absolutely loves theater. It's his passion. But then a friend mentions psychology, and he starts seeing it everywhere on social media. Suddenly his feed is just flooded with posts about how psychology is this amazing booming career. All that digital noise, that approval for this other path just got so loud that his own dream kind of started to fade into the background. And yeah, you guessed it, he ended up choosing psychology.
An Ion story is probably pretty familiar, right? It gets at this really core question about all of us. Why are we so easily swayed by what other people think? Why does getting their approval feel so amazing, and why does getting their disapproval sting so much? That's exactly what we're going to unpack.
All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, we have to go back. I mean, way back. Not just to our childhoods, but deep into our evolutionary history. Because it turns out this whole need for approval, it's not some new thing from the internet age. It's a straight-up survival instinct.
Think about our ancient ancestors. They lived in these small, tight-knit groups. And for them, fitting in wasn't about being popular. It was life or death. Seriously, if you got kicked out of the tribe, ostracized, you were on your own. No food, no protection, no community. It was basically a death sentence.
So it makes sense, right? Our brains evolved to crave what we now call social approval. It's that good feeling you get, the positive feedback, the acceptance from the group. That warm, fuzzy feeling is basically your brain's little alarm system going, hey, you're safe, you belong, keep doing this.
So you see, this isn't just some flimsy want. It's a whole stack of powerful needs. At the bottom, you've got that hardcore survival instinct that's literally baked into our DNA. Then, on top of that, it feeds our fundamental human need to belong. And finally, all of that fuels our self-esteem and our confidence. It's the whole package.
Okay, so that's the why. It's this deep, biological drive to fit in. But now let's talk about the how. How does this ancient instinct actually make us act in our day-to-day lives? How does it make us conform, even when a little voice inside is telling us we know better?
Well, there's a name for this mechanism. It's called normative social influence. And listen, this is the key takeaway here. It's not about conforming because you genuinely think the group has it right. Nope. It's about conforming just because you want to be liked and accepted by them. You're literally choosing to belong over being correct.
There's this classic experiment from the 1950s by a psychologist named Solomon Asch that shows this perfectly. Here's the setup. He'd show someone a card with a line on it, then another card with 3 lines. All you had to do is say which of the 3 lines matched the first one. Super, super simple. But here's the twist. He put one real person in a room full of actors, and all the actors were told to give the same, obviously wrong answer.
So the big question was, what would the real person do? Would they trust their own eyes, or would they just go along with the group? The result was absolutely wild. 36%.
Yeah, 36% of the time, people knowingly gave the wrong answer. They weren't confused, their eyes were working just fine. They did it just to avoid the awkward feeling of disagreeing with everyone else. That, right there, is the raw power of wanting to fit in.
Okay, so going along with the crowd to avoid an awkward moment in a lab is one thing. But what happens when this instinct gets scaled up? What happens when it leads a whole group or even a whole society down a really bad path? Well, some fascinating new research gives us a pretty startling answer.
So first, you gotta know that in any group, you've basically got 2 kinds of people. You have your individual learners. These are the folks who do their homework, right? They research, they weigh the pros and cons on their own. And then you have your social learners. These are the people who, hey, save a little time and energy by just copying what everyone else seems to be doing.
Now, a really cool scientific model shows that when you have just a few social learners in the mix, everything works great. The system is in a safe zone. The social learners tend to copy the well-informed individual learners, and the whole group ends up making the right choice. It's that classic wisdom of the crowd idea.
But, and this is where it gets scary, the model shows there's a tipping point, a critical threshold. If the number of people just copying others crosses that line, the whole system can suddenly flip. The group can get completely stuck on the wrong answer, defending a bad idea just because it got a little bit popular by chance at the beginning.
So, let's break that down. Below the tipping point, the best idea usually wins out. But once you cross it, you're in the danger zone. The group is now just as likely to get behind a terrible idea as a great one. It's all just about social momentum at that point.
I know what you're thinking. What does some math model have to do with my life? Well, it turns out that critical threshold we just talked about is more real and more relevant today than ever. And you can thank our wonderful digital world for that.
Check this out. A recent study asked young adults, do you feel more confident about your decisions when other people support them? And wow, look at the results. Over 65%, that's almost 2/3 of them, said yes. That just shows you how deeply we connect our own confidence to what other people think.
And get this, the same study found a really strong statistical connection. The number they came up with was an R value of 0.76.
Now, for those of us who aren't statisticians, what that means is there's a very strong positive correlation. Basically, the more influence you feel from social media, the more likely you are to change your own decisions to just match what the group is doing. They go up together, hand in hand.
And it's pretty clear why this is happening, right? Social media is like the perfect engine for this. Every like you get is a little dopamine hit to your brain's reward center. Then the algorithms see what's popular and they blast it out to even more people, creating these massive echo chambers. All of this constant supercharged social feedback makes it way easier for a group to get pushed past that dangerous tipping point, where a bad idea can go viral just as easily as a good one.
Okay, so we're hardwired to seek approval, and our tech is basically putting that instinct on steroids. I know, sounds a little grim. But here's the good news. Just understanding how this all works is the first huge step toward taking back control. So what can we actually do to be a little more independent?
Well, experts have a few really practical tips. First step, just become aware. Start to notice which people or what situations really trigger that need for approval in you. Step 2, get okay with disapproval. You have to accept that nobody on this planet is liked by everyone. It's not a failure, it's just life. And third, practice asserting yourself. Start small. Do something like ask for a 10% discount at a coffee shop, fully expecting them to say no. The point isn't to get the discount, it's to get used to hearing no and realizing the world doesn't end.
And all of this really leaves us with one big final question. At the end of the day, we're all social animals, right? We're just trying to navigate a world that is literally designed to crank up our most basic instincts. In this giant ocean of likes, shares, and trends, the real challenge isn't just about connecting with other people. It's about staying connected to yourself. So I'll leave you with this. How do you know you're really thinking for yourself?